Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my show. I'm your host, Diana Bellaros, award-winning and best-selling author, Fire and Ice, The Journey of Transformation, and The Light Within. You can find out more about me on my website, dianabellaros.com, as well as subscribe to my radio show on Blog Talk Radio /Diana Bellaros. And I'm also a women's advocate. I have been working on domestic violence for the past 12 years. I have written 4 books. And the purpose of the show is to make a difference in the lives of the victims of domestic violence and to save as many as possible lives and to give them the power they need to get out of toxic and unhealthy relationship before things get really bad and end up in a tragic outcome. So today I have a victim of domestic violence. She's a women's advocate as well, and I'm so honored to have her with us. And she is going to share her story, and I'm absolutely sure with her story she'll be able to help somebody in a similar situation. So welcome to my show, and thank you for helping. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jodies Silberman. And I am a paralegal. I've been a paralegal for 30 years, and my business is just called Jodie.org. And my story is that I'm a family law paralegal, and for all these years, I'm helping all these women to get out of these relationships. But it was hard to apply that to myself, and it took my ex getting arrested for domestic violence to finally get out of it. And for me, it took... You never really know where to go and how to get out, and you have to put that foundation around you, that support, and you really have to find your legs and be strong. It's not an easy thing, but I know that from my perspective, to go from surviving to thriving is an amazing experience, and I love to help women try and do that and be that guide for them. Now, from my perspective, I can do the legal side, and I've been through it on the personal side. So in my coaching business, I like to help them kind of through the legal process and the personal process, because the legal process is very unforgiving. And I can help them to understand what they need to do to successfully get through that process and how to deal with the other side and not protect your buttons. Don't let them get to you, because they know just how to make you dance. They know exactly what it is that's going to get to you, what your buttons are. And we have to learn how to put those away and be strong. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And there are tools that I have that I can help you and show you and guide you from where I came from, because it was my support system that helped get me through, that taught me how to put my legs underneath me, stand your ground, and just keep persevering, because you have to. It's about just putting one foot in front of the other and finding those people that you can surround yourself with that will be there to get you through each step of the way, and finding that strength within us, which we all have. And as a coach, I can help you find that strength and be that person and that guide, because sometimes we just get lost and we just need those reminders and that hand to call in the middle of the night going, can I do this? Where do I go? What about my kids? When our heads get so filled with all of this, it's that person you can reach out to and go, okay, you're going to be okay. I can see the road ahead of you, and this is what you need to do next. And I think that we need that community of women around us to show us that, you know what, I can do this. She did it, so I can do it too. And I did it, so I'm going to show you how to do it, because you can do it. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I know it's not easy, and it's the scariest thing you'll ever go through, but it's probably the best thing you'll ever go through. And you grow through what you go through is what they say, and you do. And you'll come out stronger, and I like to be able to take people and guide them and hold their hands through that and take them from one end to the other, because I know it can happen, because I did it. I went from my ex was arrested, I sold my house, got my daughter to college in Minnesota, brought her back from college in Minnesota, and then my boss died in the middle of my trial to renew my restraining order. I had to go to court on my own against his attorney and him, and I got my restraining order. And all these little steps were very empowering. And it takes sometimes looking back, going, oh my gosh, I did that, and all those little steps will help you. And you just need to surround yourself with that support to help you get through all of those steps, because it can be done and you can do it. So
that's
if anybody
amazing.
needs anything, again, I love to help people. JustCallJodie.org is what I have, and I like to help women be independent too financially, create businesses, and become self-sustaining, so that we cut those ties that control us. Those money, children, all those things they put those on us, and they put these restraints on us to control us. And sometimes we have no choice, and we have to break that control, because it's all about abuse. It's all about control. And so it's trying to unleash, get away from that control, get out from that control. And once you do, it's a whole new world. So thank you for having me. I appreciate this. This has been an amazing experience.
So tell us what exactly happened to you about your relationship, when exactly the relationship escalated and it got very toxic and dangerous.
So I'm going to tell you, March 2nd of 2014 was my last day. My ex, and it's usually over something stupid. He got mad because the dog, he didn't want to let the dog out. So he decided that instead he would take his arm and throw all the dishes on the floor. He choked me. He threw me against the cupboard. And mind you, he's 6'5", 300 pounds, put me in a chokehold, threw me on the ground, punched me. My daughter was up in the room, threw all my drawer. This is probably the third time he had choked me by now. Threw all my stuff out of the house and locked me out of the house. I ended up calling my boss. I went to my boss's. He called the cops on me because his wallet was in my car. The police called me. I had to go to the police station, and I found out that he took out loaded guns and held them, and told my daughter that he was going to kill me and anybody who came through the door. Our dog we're going to have to give away her dog, which was her dog, and she was going to be, her life, as she knew it, was going to change it, because she was going to have no parents. And then the police showed up, and she went over to her friends. He made her come back. The police showed up. He said, tell them I didn't do anything. This is your mom's fault. Oh, and I forgot that he was running around town looking for me in her car, because it was the first time I hadn't answered him, because I went to my boss. He was running around all over town with her, driving erratically crazy looking for me. So then when the police finally did show up, I had to go to the police station, of course. I had to tell them my story. My shirt was torn and everything, and there was a woman police officer there who looked at me and said, this is domestic violence, and you know that my aunt died from this, and it's not going to get any better. You have to stop it. And that's sort of kind of when it clicked. And they asked me they made me say, are you going to press charges? And that was the hardest question to ever answer, because I was always told a restraining order can't stop a bullet. They pulled 21 guns out of my house with, loading equipment and everything else. I had to, he stalked me. After he was arrested, constantly he was around. His friend ended up getting his gun. So I have no doubt right now, to this day, he has those guns in his possession, even though he was convicted of domestic violence. But the police don't care, and I know that because I've tried to do something about it. So something does need to be done. They need these offenders need to have somebody tracking them so they don't get these guns in their possession. And Facebook, he stalked us. Social media is a huge issue. That's another thing, He constantly stalked us. He stalked my daughter. He contacted people. So my daughter, to try to get in touch with my daughter, he showed up at her games, and he was arrested at her softball game while she was playing softball for high school. So that was kind of the end of everything. And March 2nd, 2014, once he was arrested that day, he never came back. And it was kind of that one day where everything went to shit, and I couldn't do the dance with him anymore. I didn't know what to do to stop the rage. I just was like, I didn't know what else to do, and that's the day I left. I actually left to go to my boss's, and I didn't answer the phone. You know, you always answer because, oh my gosh, I have to fix this, right? And I didn't know what else to do to fix it. I couldn't fix it anymore. I had done everything. There was nothing left in me to try and stop the rage. And that's what happened. And he tried to tell the police, of course, it was my fault that I attacked him, and I had to go through all these things, and it wasn't easy. And I had an incident in court where it got turned on me, where he walked by and he was harassing me in court, and there was a female officer who kind of turned it around on me, and that was an issue too. So they don't see it your way. They have police are not always our friends. They're not always there to help us, and that's frustrating too. The system is broken. The system is very broken when it comes to domestic violence, and I know that, and I see it because I work in it. So I understand it, and I think that that's a perspective to help people kind of avoid those pitfalls as well. So I successfully made it out, and I have an inside understanding of how the court system works, you know, and it was hard even for me with that knowledge. So that's why, you know, lawyers shouldn't represent themselves. Doctors should not be their own clients because emotions cloud judgment, and it's so hard and it's so emotionally charged. But you know what? It's you get through it, and that's why you have that guidance to help you with those times, so you make those right decisions to keep going and don't give up and don't let them get to you, because they will try and wear you down, and you just have to try and be strong and find that support. Your support system really is everything. That's what I feel. Your support system that you surround yourself with is everything, and you can do it, and they're there. And it may be a coach. It may be somebody not in your family and not your friend, because that sometimes is, it just makes the situation harder because they all have their opinions and their 2 cents about everybody's life, and that doesn't always help because they don't understand the intricate situation and the dynamics of abuse and the insidious nature of it and how it works, unless you've been through it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. The family turns against you. They gaslight you. They get involved with gangsters. They come to your house, you know, and they have criminals around, you know, and I have been experiencing for quite a while, you know, and they do horrible things to you, and I don't know what is the gain from it. Honestly, I don't. They find people, you know, because it's still the masculine dominating, the feminine, and it's absolutely devastating when women try to get out to build life for themselves and stay alive and healthy, because staying in domestic violence and toxic relationship takes a toll on your body. Your system starts to shut off from all this torture because this is repeated pressure on you. And that's why we need new laws. We need a lot of women who understand and have been through domestic violence and abuse, because in domestic violence and abuse, you need to be in a situation like this to understand others. That's how it is. And so you can do the work, like you're a paralegal and you're trying to do your best to help others and to be in the system, so you can tell them, hey, this is a very serious issue. We need to do something about it because women's lives matter, and we need to take care for these women and give them a chance to live the only life that is given to us, to them, right?
Absolutely. They need to hear our voice and understand, and not just go, well, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just walk out? Because what does that look like? You know, we've got kids and families and animals and lives and jobs, and someone that's going to tell us that they're going to kill us if we do. And guess what? We believe them because we live with them, and we know what they're capable of, and we know what they do to us behind closed doors. But people don't believe it because it's not like we walk around with the bruises on our face, and not all of it's bruises. I'm going to tell you the emotional abuse is far, far worse and far more it cuts deeper than any physical abuse ever will. It's far more damaging, and people don't understand how deep those scars run. Just let it go and just get over it. And once you get out, there's still a road to toe, because all those things that they told you, all those things that how horrible, it's all in your head. It's still there, but you have to get through it and realize that that's not you, and it's all a process to get through, and we need to come together to remind each other of that instead of working against each other. That's why the support system is so important, again, because families don't necessarily understand it. They're the ones going, just let it go. Oh, why didn't you do this? And because they don't understand. Well, why didn't you just leave? Well, it doesn't work that way, and and then it starts to make you feel, well, why didn't I just leave? You know, and it's because you can't, and it's a cycle of that just makes it worse, and it doesn't help anybody. And it's about helping, not judging, not asking why they didn't, because again, it's understanding the dynamics of abuse. And I think that's why this community is so important, and what you're doing is so important. The outreach is so important, because we need to know that there are people there to help us, because it's hard to find. It's really hard to find, because no one wants to talk about it. It's that dirty little secret that no one wants to talk about, and it happens everywhere. And I don't care. It's in all walks of life. It's not just poor. I mean, it's probably worse in the richer neighborhoods, because these men, they're about control. And that's where the problem comes in. It's the control. And they take control, and they take our lives from us, is what happens at the end. And then when we want them back, people look at us like, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why didn't you do this? And I can't believe you did that a lot of times with these narcissists, because they go out there like they're the gift, and no one realizes what's really happening. So, and then no one believes you. So it's very hard, and it's very important that they get heard, and somebody stands there to go, you know what, you need to hear her, and you need to believe her, because this did happen. And I don't care what you're saying or what it looks like on the outside. You weren't there. It happened. And I believe
exactly. You. Yeah. Nobody believes you. Everybody judges you. That's what they do to society do until it happens to them.
And then they're going, oh no, and then we're the ones calling and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. And now what do I do? But that, as they were judging, and that's exactly it. And that's, I think, the hypocrisy that happens these days is obviously out of control. I think it's more important now than ever in the society for women to band together, because I think that it's just so important, because I think there's so many of us. I think there's more of us, quite frankly, that have been through this than less of us. I think it's the majority, unfortunately, but not everybody wants to talk about it. But, you know, me, I have no shame in my game. I'd rather share my story. If I can help one person, if I can show them the way, if they can hear my voice and just see my story and go, you know what, I survived and I'm still standing, you know, and it's still, you know, the world is always trying to get you down, no matter what you're doing. So you just got to keep going. And I think it's important to have that, to see, you know what, she's doing it, I can do it, we can all do it. We can do it. And sometimes you just need that person going, you know what, you're okay, you can do it, you got this. You got this.
Yeah.
And that's all you need sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we need to take it very seriously, because domestic violence right now, it's like COVID-19. It's the same thing. So it's absolutely pivotal for all of us to do something, and women to come together instead of competing and judging each other. We need to come together, and we need to make sure that our rights are protected and our lives matter, because so many women died, and they're dying daily, every second of the day on a global level. It's absolutely, absolutely devastating.
So it is. It's an epidemic that no one's talking about. They're all busy talking about all these other epidemics, but this is an epidemic, a global epidemic. I mean, what are the statistics? 1 in 3 women every how many minutes are dying or involved in domestic violence? 1 out of every 3 women is involved in domestic violence. 1 out of every 3 women. That's pretty much everybody. You know, and that's sad, and that's we need to, and that's why we need to come together. They've designed it for everybody. You know, divide and conquer. That's what they've done, and that's why we women need to come together and not be apart, because it's a sisterhood, and it's so empowering to have that sisterhood, because when you find those women that want to work together, and you find more and more, we're all like-minded, and when you find those people of that like mind, it's just, we're unstoppable, and it'll make you unstoppable, and that's where we need to be. We're gaining that momentum, and it's because our voice does need to be heard, and enough is enough. It's not okay to treat us this way. It's not okay at all. You know, it's just, and something needs to stop. The laws need to change. It needs to be recognized, and little by little, you know, I know in California, the domestic violence laws do recognize emotional abuse now. The law does recognize it. Whether how it's implemented is another story, but it is in there. but getting everybody to understand it and believe it and do something about it and enforcing it in violating as far as social media and all those things, it's still a problem. Even though it's there, it doesn't help because you can't enforce it. And so that's, little steps are better than no steps, but there's still a long road to toe.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that what you're doing is
That's
so
true.
important, and what all of us, everybody just working together is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are almost out of time. Is there anything, the last words, can you give some advice in terms of domestic violence at the moment who are in a toxic relationship, shaking at home and being afraid?
I would say the best thing to do would be if you can reach out, but just pack a bag, pack your stuff while no one's paying attention, and then as soon as you have a chance to get out and call justcalljodie.org, call Deanna, call anybody, call anyone, go to SAFE. There's organizations all over. Go to a shelter. They will help you. Once you're out, it's easier to stay out, and there are resources out there for you. And just find them and get them and file the restraining order. And once you have the restraining order, you have to enforce it. I know it's scary, but do it. And every time you do it, it'll get a little easier and a little easier. And find someone that will help you and protect you and help you through that process, because you can do it and you can get out. As scary as it is, as scary as the unknown is, you can do it. So I think just that's the best thing I can tell you is when they're not paying attention, before anything gets filed, grab your money together, get your safety bag together of your belongings, and then as soon as you have an opening, I would take it.
Thank you so much, Jodie, for sharing your story. I'm absolutely sure this is going to make a difference, and the show is available to download for free on Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, everywhere, as well as on YouTube. Please subscribe. Reach for help. Don't feel like you don't have the power. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if we as a women are not protected the way we should. It's better to be outside fighting instead of inside, being afraid for your life. Think about your children, and again, the outcome could be very tragic. And when you're outside, you have the power to overcome anything that is coming your way, because we as a women are very resilient. And here is some examples of the women I interviewed, even me, even Jodie. So do your part as a woman. Join us in the war against domestic violence as well as men, because you never know. You could be the next victim. So thank you so much for the listeners for being with me. Thank you so much, Jodie, again, for sharing your story. And again, subscribe to my channel, support us with what we do, because now is the time for this injustice to be brought to justice and to create new laws that will protect women and children.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.